Hello and welcome to the DrivingMaul show, coming to you every Monday at 8 p.m. on YouTube and Facebook. No longer on Twitter or X, we want to call it, because they charge you nowadays. So to live stream there, so we ain't there, but we are on those places. And one place that we really are at, also you can listen to us as a podcast, by the way. And one of the places you can get our podcast is Spotify. But if you search for New Zealand Sport Radio, we're so far down the list because no one listens to us that you won't see us. So search for the DrivingMaul show. It's much more likely to find us that way. So yes, Cornflake, come on, get out there, market us. Why can't anyone find us on Spotify?
The budget doesn't extend far enough for good advertising. I'm sorry.
So yeah, someone was asking last week on the show about us being on Spotify, and I was like, I'm sure we are. Then I searched quickly while I was on the show, and I couldn't find us. Yeah,
I listened to it last year when I was in America. I listened to the shows on flights because I had no idea what was going on. That was during Super Rugby season, and I remember listening to it. It was the only way I really kept up to date with what was happening and how amazingly the Highlanders were going. So, I mean, it was there then. It wasn't that hard to find. Yeah.
So there we go, folks. Cool. So did you get up? Yeah, well, you did a live stream, I believe, at like at 3 o'clock in the morning. I did not. I had my kids. And who gave us the on-air light. See, we're on air. You can tell we're on air because the light's on. Wrong finger there. I can't get my fingers in the right place. There we go. So yes. Yeah. So over on Cornflake's side of things, he did a live stream at 3 o'clock in the morning. I did not. I had slept and got up in the morning and watched it. And then for the Argentina Australia game, did you live stream that one as well or not?
No, not for the woeful Wallabies. Jeez, we only do the real matches. Glad I didn't. What a look! Awesome result. But as far as the spectacle goes, wasn't really one worth getting excited about in terms of a even battle.
Wow! I'm not sure I totally agree with you on that one. So we'll discuss the games later.
Scoreboard says otherwise.
we've got our news section to go through first.
Oh, here we go.
So we'll kick off with signings then. Jackson Garden-Bachop is coming back to New Zealand, and he's going to actually go play for Moana Pacifica. And he's hoping it's going to teach him about his cultural roots and stuff. So another signing there. Adding some experience, an experienced player overseas means that Tristan Leali'ifano can take more of a back seat. Someone you think is probably past his sell-by date. I mean, look, is it going to change him into Super Rugby champions? No, but a decent enough signing, I think.
He's a bit of a journeyman now, isn't he? He's been around the traps. He's been in a few places. He's experienced, like you say. I think it's good to build a bit of depth. I think they've got probably the guys that they'll believe to fill those roles in position as their starters or their favourite sort of players. So, it's all about, you've got to have as we've discovered over the last few weeks, depth is almost, it's more important than having just a good starting player. So, yeah, I mean, Moana's got to keep that, and having a guy who's played and knows what that level's all about. I think he's an adequate player at that level too. He doesn't look completely out of place. He plays well enough. So, yeah, good pickup for them, and a guy who's, making a living doing what he loves. So good on him. Yep.
Other signing news. We'll get on to Dame Patsy in a second, Knocks on Rights. But other signing news, then one that you're excited about. More a rumour than actual news so far. But over on your Discord channel, you were blowing up about this. So you can take to the next one.
You're talking about my Damien McKenzie rumour that La Rochelle are interested in signing him for at least 10 years, / probably like a few months. But a lot of talk coming out of France that he's going to be going to La Rochelle at the conclusion of the Rugby Championship. Personally, La Rochelle, as I know you're watching the show, as all rugby clubs should, to get our input and to have our says portrayed to how rugby should be played. Take him right now, please. I'll throw in a 6-pack of Paul's beer that he's drinking, and just go. Just take him now, please. And don't worry about having him back by the end of the year tour. It's fine. Just have max beer just for you, La Rochelle.
Some black magic. Yes.
He's yours. He's yours. A bag of chips. I don't know. What else do you want? We'll wrap him in cotton wool to make sure he doesn't get hurt. Just go. And we'll see him never again. Please. Please.
Oh, yeah. So, D-Mac, I'm drinking Black Mac. Hey, see, that's...
I'm disappointed now. I'm disappointed. The Swedes, I mean, Nocturnal, you name the price, buddy. You just whatever you want, man. Sweets, pumpkins, I don't know, gams, just a veggie are your thing, then that is fine by me. Bottles of whiskey, I mean, that will hurt, but I'm open to any sort of offers just to get them out of here, please. God. Look, I'm interested to hear what they'll do with them. I will actually, if he does go, I'll be intrigued as to what they do with them and what their intentions are. He's a really good Super Rugby player, and I'm curious to see how he'd perform at that level as well. But I'm more curious as to where they see him, from other eyes, from those French eyes, as to what position and how they utilize his skills. Because let's be honest, he's a really good player. He's just out of his depth where he's playing right now. More on that later.
But but you compare him to Ihia West, who is
oh God.
Who was at La Rochelle, along with Antonio Hastoy and Hugo Ruiz, the two French guys. Whereas at fullback, Bryce Dulin, the French guy back there. So look, I as a replacement for Ihia West, I think that's an upgrade, definitely.
Yep. That's it. I mean, I would just put a shovel out there, and literally just skip him, just put him on halfway and leave him there. That's enough for me.
But but look, you've got Kerbalo at 9, who obviously D-Mac knows from his time at the Chiefs. So look, I mean, I think it's slot straight in at 10. As you think of how they're going to use him, well, they're going to use him at 10. That's obvious. What they're going to use him for.
Give me Ihia West any day of the week. Ihia West.
You would never. No, you would have D-Mac over Ihia West.
Oh yeah, I would take Ihia West. I'd take sewing machine feet any day of the week. That try versus the Lions, as much as I dislike the Blues, that is embedded in my brain. Old sewing machine. He was gone, man. Gone. Great player.
So yes. And any other news before I get into stuff that you're not interested in, which is off the pitch stuff?
And not particularly. All I was worried about is getting rid of McKenzie. It was like, oh yes, glorious, he's gone. No, not so much. Well, I don't know what you're going to talk about, but I suppose news is news of the tours. The All Blacks going back to South Africa again is been pretty big news over the week as well. How have you missed out on that? New Zealand touring South Africa again, series Rugby Championship going bi-yearly. Goodness gracious me, you're out of the loop.
I am out of the loop. I've missed this one. Go on in.
That's potentially the plan, is that the All Blacks will be touring South Africa, 3-test series, midweek game. This
is a rumor, surely, at this point.
It's pretty much done and dusted. Pretty much confirmed, and Rugby Championship will be going to a bi-yearly competition, as in we'll be skipping 2026. Oh no, I'll be back in 2026.
Okay, so Lions. Okay, because it's a Lions year, so they so hence they don't want it. So when there's
this is permanent. It's not a one-offer.
Sure, I know. I understand that, but it'll be, if it's every other year, it'll skip Lions years and World Cup years, and
that's the years Rugby Championship will take place. Yes, the Lions years and World Cup years.
No, they'll skip them. No, the other years. Because it'll be 2026. There's the next Rugby Championship, right? So 25 is a Lions year, 27 is a World Cup year.
Oh, that would make sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever way around it is, one of the ways. Yeah.
So basically, okay. So what they're really saying is the Rugby Championship is going to cease to exist. Okay. And this new Nations Cup thing that happens on the years where you don't have a World Cup on even years.
I was the wrong way around.
It's the same years as the
26 is a tour year.
26 is a tour year. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was the wrong way around. Yes.
So
your Rugby Championship will be the years of World Cup. Yeah, that's what I got. So you're going to have shortened Rugby Championships in the World Cup years. A full Rugby Championship. No, well, will it be shortened on a Lions year as well? It kind of doesn't make much sense, does it? It's like you said, and I thought of this too, reading it. It's they are trying to get rid of the Rugby Championship. All this talk of, oh no, how do we get rid of South Africa? And now it's like, well, we're just trying to get rid of them even further by destroying the Rugby Championship. Hey, we could tour there and do a 3-test series.
So 2016 tour year, how is this brand new Nations Cup thing supposed to work, where you're supposed to play every team, where we're supposed to actually bring Japan and Fiji into the Rugby Championship to have a 6-team event on the even years, and then as part of the July window and the November window, you play all the Six Nations teams once. So
don't worry about them. No, we're not worried about them. Yeah.
So
Australia and Argentina are throwing their toys out of the cot too, because they're like, hey, well, we don't want to be left out of this. And so they're scrambling a little bit to try and sort something themselves. So they're looking at possibly touring each other, as in Australia go to Argentina or vice versa or whatever. So everyone's sort of scrambling to look after their own best interest, which is intriguing, really, right to say, because the All Blacks or New Zealand Rugby, I should say, and South Africa have kind of shot out the blocks and caught everyone a little bit off guard, I guess, involved in Rugby Championship, i.e. Australia and Argentina. And they are just like, well, hang on. What have we got left here? Well, we've been left out in the dark.
So this just doesn't make sense at all.
Welcome to rugby.
So New Zealand Rugby has learned nothing. Absolutely sweet FA by the sounds of this. So obviously, clearly, I'm catching up. But during COVID, what they tried to do was take control of Super Rugby and piss off all their allies. I.e., they pissed off Argentina, saying you don't have a competition to play in anymore. They pissed off South Africa, saying you have to go play with Europe. They pissed off Australia, saying we're going to tell you how many teams you have, and we're going to run the tournament. And then Australia went, no, that's not how this is going to work. So what they've decided to do is, you know what we'll do is we'll do a bilateral deal with South Africa and piss off our allies who we play with all the time, Australia, again. Mm-hmm. I mean, geez, this is just, they really just don't learn, do they? I mean, New Zealand Rugby is in the process of basically trying to kill the game. They really are. This is stupid.
I don't really see how it benefits them too much. Like, they're already doing a 2-test series, right? Like this year they're going twice to South Africa. Next year they're coming South Africa's. Yeah. So it must start 26 because next year South Africa's coming here for 2 tests, right, for the Rugby Championship.
Well, what
are they gaining out of this though? They're gaining one match.
Reportedly an 8-match itinerary away against South Africa in 2026. The Springboks will reciprocate in 2030. So it'll be every 4 years.
Oh, 4 years. So I think
Okay.
So
quite what's happening in between. Who knows? An 8-match tour. Wow, they really are trying to borrow the Lions kind of thing. So 3 test series plus 5 games. Mm-hmm. That's basically you're going to play the 4 URC teams. So Stormers, Bulls, Sharks, and Lions, and then throw in a South Africa A game or something along those sort of lines to make it
Barbarians or something.
Or South African Barbarians or whatever. The interesting one on that one. I mean, so it would be an absolute trip of a lifetime. Wonderful news, not only for the players, but for the fans if they're able to make their way over to watch. Okay. The British and Irish Lions works because of A, history, and B, there's lots more money in Britain or in the UK than there is in South Africa and New Zealand, Australia. And there's more people and they have more money. And when they travel, they go somewhere where their pound goes further. And therefore so this idea that we're suddenly going to have 50,000 New Zealanders following the All Blacks around South Africa for an 8-match tour. Sorry, I just cannot see it happening.
Especially around South Africa too. Like that. It's a bit different to touring New Zealand or Australia, isn't it?
So if you tour Australia, you've got plenty of Kiwis over there that work there, and hence you get numbers. But this idea that suddenly it's going to be fantastic for the fans and the fans are going to go on tour, it just doesn't happen. Simon Hughes says this is pandering to old people who are fixated on tours. Yes, absolutely. The reviewer says it's an obsession with money-hungry people at the top, playing the same elite teams. Imagination is not something they envy or embrace. Imagination is not something they have. Is a problem. Look, Dr. Wright says he loves tours are a good idea, and so he's not against tours per se, but he wants to keep the Rugby Championship the way it is. No, I don't want to keep the Rugby Championship the way it is. I want to include Japan and Fiji. I want to expand it, or Japan and whoever, whether it's Fiji or USA or whoever. But looking at the Pacific Nations Cup, we'll go with Fiji at the moment.
At the moment,
but yeah, it's just a same old. Let's wear rose tinted glasses and think that the past was great, even though New Zealand rugby was totally in bed with agreeing to apartheid and racist demands. But there we go. No, but shush! Don't talk about that with New Zealand rugby. No, we're not a racist organisation where everyone at the top is all white and wears blazers. Hell no. We have this one Maori guy who we took to South Africa, so we're good. Sorry, but bollocks. Anyway,
tick those boxes.
Tick the box, exactly. Okay, so now we've just said how bad New Zealand rugby is.
That got you fired up, didn't it? That really got you going. You shook. You didn't even know that had happened. Goodness gracious, I like it. I need to bring more news like this. Let's just keep Paul in the dark for the week. Then we can shock him with the absurd things that rugby's pulling out every single week. Brilliant.
Yeah, it's just...
It really come out of nowhere, didn't it? Like, I mean, there was nothing like rumors or really floated around, was there? And then all of a sudden it's like, bang, it's 90% done. Hello. And I kind of feel sorry for Argentina and Australia, right? They had no idea. And all of a sudden it's like, hey, you're going to lose your competition every, 4 years or whatever it ends up being. What are you going to do?
Yeah, New Zealand rugby aren't exactly known for the moral high ground. They like to say they have the moral high ground. They like to pretend they have it. But no, they're like, those people in the Six Nations, they're the people who are voting against including the Tier 2 nations. Like, really? Because they actually used to play the Tier 2 nations every year, once a year, in November. Whereas the All Blacks never have played. They played maybe recently. They have started to play them occasionally. And you know what? The All Blacks have been to their next door neighbours, Pacific Islands, once. Not once recently, once ever. So yes, moral high ground, zero.
To me, does this scream out like a big concern? Like New Zealand rugby seems worried about their own future, and this is some way poorly. It seems like they've done it terribly poorly, but it seems like they are not confident in the future of the Rugby Championship. They're clearly not confident in the future of Super Rugby. Seems like a big desperation scramble to try and secure South Africa with involvement with the All Blacks, and a desperate move just to try and grasp onto that before anyone else does.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm apparently wrong. Someone's claiming there was actually an All Blacks tour to Fiji in 1984. I will check that. I'll be Googling that very quickly. But yeah,
I do remember that Samoa test.
The Samoa test I remember because that's when Sky Go collapsed and fell over when everyone was at work trying to watch it because it was a midweek game.
It was. I remember watching it at work. Yeah. We all stopped work for 2 hours.
And everyone was like, "Oh, that Cody Taylor guy, he'll be a one-test wonder." So yes, anyway, let's have a quick look at the list of New Zealand rugby games, and we're going for 1980. When did he say 84? He reckoned. In 84, the All Blacks played France twice. They had 3 games against Australia, a couple against England, a couple against one against Australia. Oh no, that was in 95. Not an official test. It wasn't a test match. Definitely. It's not an official test. So exactly. So the All Blacks have only had 1 test ever in the Pacific Islands, which is a joke. Robbie says that Cody Taylor's going to the Wars. Yeah, absolutely. I can see. Yeah, Cody Taylor's off to and he doesn't mean the Waratahs there, folks. He means the Warriors. Off to rugby league. Absolutely. Go Cody. That's not happening. So yeah, in '84, imagine the All Blacks only played 5 games, 3 against Australia and 2 against France. That's unthinkable nowadays, isn't it? As you'll
Can't
see.
leave the farm that long.
And somehow they managed to make money back then. Oh, that's right. They didn't pay players, and all the players are amateurs. So yes. So on that one. But anyway, staying with how messed up the New Zealand rugby is. So Steve, we had a conversation a while back about how the Rugby Players Association basically said, we'll take Silver Lake's money if you have a review of how the as to how the what do you call it, gone blank, as to how the administration of the game is. So New Zealand Rugby said, oh yes, we want that money, so we'll have a review, and I'm sure it'll just say that we're doing things fine and that we don't need to change everything. Oh, oops. It said, actually, you know what? You need to change everything. So I went for a vote, and New Zealand Rugby then went, you know what? We don't like what they say, so we're going to actually modify it to the way we want it. And the players went, no, you agreed to do what the review is, and if you don't do it, we're going to pull out. And so New Zealand Rugby said, okay, fine, we'll put forward the idea that we'll change things to how the review said. And then the provincial unions said, no, we don't like that. We want to change it to how we want it to be done. And so the vote went to the provincial unions, and the provincial unions, funnily enough, voted for their version, not for the reviews version. And the players had said beforehand that if you do this, we won't. We'll stop playing, and we'll have our own setup, and we'll set up a brand new administration. And New Zealand Rugby chair, she went and said, you know, I'll resign if you vote for that, folks. And it all went quiet, and no one did any of those things until last week, where, funnily enough, they've all actually come to some sort of form of agreement. Now, this is supposed to, apparently they've made concessions with each other, which the concessions seem, well, okay. I'll let you. First off, they've allowed. There is a stakeholders board, and they've actually said that, you know what, 2 other people can have can have people on the board on the stakeholders thing. Fine, okay. Big deal there. One of them is from the high schools, and I can't remember who the other one was. But the really contentious piece was that the board must have, here we go, quotes, provincial union board experience. 3 members do. Okay. Now the concession that the provincial unions have given is that instead of being provincial union board experience, it now says provincial union executive management experience.
Okay. Right.
So basically, yes.
And
so basically,
differences.
The difference is, rather than being on the board, you can be the CEO or the senior manager of a provincial union,
right,
and still get onto the board, right? So you could have run a provincial union. I mean, that's so why someone who is a board member could become but someone who actually run it day to day and knows how it runs wasn't included. Seemed a bit dumb anyway. So, so that's the big concession that the provincial unions have made to the Rugby Players Association is, yeah, not only us board members, but one of the people we employ can also be one of those 3 people. I mean, massive concession there from the provincial unions that the players have managed to eke out by saying, we'll walk away and set up our own administration. Yeah, that went down well, didn't it? Sorry, players, but you have really, you bottled it on that one. The provincial unions called their bluff, and they went, nah.
Are you surprised? Are you
No.
really that surprised? Like it's so much. Oh, just messing about and backhanded. It's even hard to describe. No one is looking out for the good of the game. They're all looking out for their own asses. Right? It's just hot shot like someone said in the chat earlier, the Ivory Castle, top of the table, white boys in their little, blazers, like you said. It's sickening, and it's recycling over and over and over and over and over. Everywhere you look, whether it's about the All Blacks, about provincial rugby, about the middle ground, schools, it's never about the game, and that's the biggest problem. All this sort of crap is just the same story, the same results, the same round and round and round in circles, and eventually they get what they want.
Your two of us is here say, look, it was a hollow threat by the players. World Rugby would not have killed any unofficial clump, exactly. And the Players' Union is two-tiered association. They would have cut the knees off the NPC players. Yeah, no, exactly. It's only about the full-time professional players. So look, it was an empty threat. And at the end of the day, look, the players have got 99% of what they want, right? They want this independent board. Now, the majority of the board is going to be independent. New Zealand Schools and the New Zealand Rugby Foundation. Do you know what the New Zealand Rugby Foundation is, or who they are?
No,
I've never heard of them, but apparently they're stakeholders. So there you go. So they now can be on the 10-member stakeholder panel. Great. Schools I get, but who are the other people? I have no idea. Anyway, look, the players have got the vast majority of what they want, which is an independent board, rather than it being run by the provinces. The fact that three of them have to have provincial experience because it's not forever either. I think it's only for an interim term. Isn't that bad? So look, the players, whilst they have backed down, they have actually got the majority of what they wanted. The provincial unions feel like they've been heard because there'll be some people on there who actually know what the provinces are. Look, New Zealand Rugby's been trying to kill the provinces and make them basically remove the high performance side of it. Which, at the end of the day, what is rugby supposed to be about for 99% of the players? Is it about making it into the All Blacks, or is it about making a career out of it, or is it about actually playing with your mates on a Saturday and having lifelong friends,
having fun?
Exactly, and that's at the end of the day, that's what the provinces should be should be mainly focused on. But unfortunately, Bruce Stuckley, does the All Blacks have a players' union? Yes, it's called the Rugby Players Association, and that's for all Super Rugby players, not just All Blacks. So it's all professional players. At the end of the day, hey, let's see if anything changes. The new board members will be confirmed in late November. All the current directors will have to reapply for their roles. What happens to Dame Patsy Reddy, who is the kind of chairperson, whatever she is, we'll have to wait and see. As I say, she said she would stand down if they didn't take the findings of the review in its entirety, which they haven't done. It's not a massive change, to be honest, but hey, we'll see if she stays. The next we'll hear about this is late November. Let's see. Will anything change? Not for another decade, I don't think.
Politics are the bane of everything. Absolute terrible trife of just toxic crap. It's just bad. I can't even describe how wasteful of resources the whole thing is, right? When people have positions that are supposed to represent certain things or protect or do certain roles, they just don't do it. And it's like a council. Literally, it's like a council. Everyone's just out to step on whoever they can get over to get to the top. And if it's if it's a union, if it's players, they don't give a crap. They're going right over the top of you, and it's sad. It shows what humanity is.
The other thing, I was going to say something. I've gone blank. Never mind.
I ruined it.
You did. I actually paid attention to you, which was stupid, wasn't it? I should have just thought my own thoughts.
Idiotic
on that one. So anyway, let's move on from that and say we'll find out in late November. Is the next time you'll probably hear from us about this. Hopefully, if they actually aren't arguing. Otherwise, on that one. So, why are Makar and Carter still members of the association? retired nearly 10 years. Not much in common with Bay of Plenty squad members. Well, Bay of Plenty squad members aren't part of the union. Remember, it's active. I think it's Super Rugby and above. I think it's fully time professionals. And McCaw is a representative, and therefore he's on. He's part of the New Zealand Rugby commercial. He's the players' representative on the New Zealand Rugby commercial arm from memory, I believe. So that's why he's still part of it. And also, let's be honest, they're gods. How dare you? Simon, not Simon says NPC members are players are members. Sorry about that. Yeah, I mean, McCaw played more games. I don't mean McCaw played next to no games at NPC. He never played for Canterbury. Let's be honest. But anyway, let's move on to NPC, and let's just quickly run through the results. The midweek game from last week saw Waikato see off Northland 34-19. No big surprise there. Bay of Plenty got the big win over Manawatu, as we expected on Friday night, 68-14. Battle of the Bridge, Auckland had a won 36-32 with a conversion, a try and conversion, basically on the hooter. A late comeback there for Auckland for their first win of the season in round 5. People, that is not what Auckland should be doing. We're just over halfway through the competition, and they get their first win. Wellington unsurprisingly saw Southland 36-12. Expected that one. Wellington been going well. Southland, look, they had their ups and had their moments, but they really are an up and down team. Otago got beaten by their bigger brother 16-34 to Canterbury. There, the boys up the road getting a win, which that was one of the ones I thought would be closer than that. I thought it'd be up in a bit more in the balance between those two. We'll skip over the only game that really matters from the weekend, as Taranaki saw off Waikato. Look, Naki having a great season again. Waikato again a bit up and down, and then Counties their first win of the season as well. I think 25-14. The second win of the season, 25-14 over Northland there as well. So Northland, picking up a couple of losses with the midweek game as well. So their Storm week has not gone well. But the big game of the weekend was the Ranfurly Shield. Hawke's Bay taking on Tasman. Tasman, who have never held the Ranfurly Shield. Now Marlborough did hold it once. Apparently, this was the first opportunity, or this is an opportunity for them to hold it for the first time. And boy, oh boy, on the buzzer, there was on the buzzer after time was up, a penalty saw them win the game 24-25 after a 5-19 lead at half time. They nearly threw it away, but a couple of William Habili and a Parata penalties in the second half just saw them home to take the Ranfurly Shield. Cracking game by all accounts. Unfortunately, I didn't watch it. Did you catch it?
I caught a few extended highlights. I caught the end of it actually, but I mostly watched the highlights of it for the earlier part of it. But yeah, really good ending. Really good scenes too, right? I mean, it's good to see it meaning so much to not just the players, but supporters, and you see a lot of videos coming out about the wider training, well, the players not in the match day squad who weren't with the team that were videoed celebrating with it as well. It's great. Look, I like Tasman. I reckon Tasman are a really, really good side. I fear, like we talked about last week, if they won it, that the potential for it to go back to the bigger unions is now with their fixture this week. But hey, great for Tasman. Really good, exciting matchup, and it's what you want, right, from that. Like you said it before, that this was your marquee game of the weekend, your Ranfurly Shield match, to go so close and tight right at the end, to be won by a kick. And it was a decent nudge too. It was a good 40-odd meter out kick. It was a good little pop. Yeah, and nailed it. Hey, when it's that situation, doesn't matter how ugly or pretty they are, as long as it's 3 points, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, great game, great finish. Well done, Tasman. Hawke's Bay have had a really good run with the Shield, though. I feel it'd be remiss to say how good they've been and how much they've I think they've really given the Shield a bit of not so much respect, but just they've kind of lifted it up to a place where it's actually quite hard to fight for and battle for. They've given it a bit more prestige back to it. That's, I guess, has kind of waned a little bit up and down over the last few years, but it's good to see it back and really being wanted again. And good to see Tasman picking up their first ever Shield victory, which we all know down here, when it's few and far between, it's a pretty big deal to get that Shield back in the grasp once more.
Oh, absolutely. Look, I mean, this was a some chat in the chat. Yeah, look, 1973 for Marlborough to take it wasn't upset. This was not an upset. This was look, it wasn't. This was one of the games that could go either way. Hence, it's a 1-point game. It wouldn't have been an upset if Hawke's Bay had held on to it. It would have been, but
no.
Yeah, no, I mean, cracking one. Look, I mean, this has been a run of 4 games now. It's the 5th game they tried to defend it for. They won it off Wellington at the end of last season, and they've had now, admittedly, their first 2 defenses were against King Country and Wanganui, the Butcher Boys. So clearly they weren't going to lose those. So 3 Southland, Northland, Tasman, their first real defence actually this time.
Mm-hmm.
But Hawke's Bay had it 2 years ago in 2022 and had it on a good run. That's what I was remembering back to, because they had it from October 2020 all the way through until losing it in September 2022 to Wellington. So they had it for a good old stretch, 2 years there on that one. And I think that was when it kind of, as you say, during that time, they really raised it up into, because it'd been with Canterbury at the beginning of that year. Taranaki took it, Otago then took it, Hawke's Bay took it in 2020, sorry. And that really kind of got the, reinvigorated the competition. When it gets stuck in Canterbury, when it gets stuck in Auckland for like a couple of years, that's when it dies down. There isn't the same enthusiasm. The enthusiasm in Tasman has been massive for this because it's the first time I've ever had it. It's brilliant. It's even been refurbished as well. Yes, that white stuff was plaster of Paris. It wasn't anything else that might be white that might go up your nostril.
Have you seen what Tasman have done with their first pictures of the Shield?
What, covered it in talcum powder?
They put a little bottle on this, a little logo bottle of this on the front of the.
What, Coca-Cola?
They put a can on it. Coke.
Oh yeah.
They're taking the piss. They put a can of Coke on it and said, what did they say? I forgot what they said in the subtitle of it. But pretty much taking the piss out of Hawke's Bay, who maybe had the real thing on there. Maybe not. We'll never know. But what I like about the Hawke's Bay run, you say about how it sucks when you get stuck in those big unions. What round is it? It's round 5, isn't it?
Yep.
This round. And they've had 3 defenses during the competition. That's what also sucks when it gets stuck somewhere that has, one challenge. They don't have enough challenges. They only have defended 3 times in a season. They get that fixtures list that goes away where they don't have too many challenges. That's 3 in 5 games.
They have like 5 home games and they win it on the last home game. And then you have all away games the rest of the season. Yeah.
Yes. And it's like, they've got it till next year, but the season's only halfway through. It's like, that's boring. Yeah, we forget about it now. It's been relevant and it's been prevalent throughout the year. Everyone's talked about their chances of winning the Shield. And that's what, back in the day, back in the good old days, that's what it was like. Everyone targeted that chance of the Shield, but it doesn't matter if you're bottom of the table. You got a match, you got a shot. And that's what it's all about. So it's good to see that sort of focus towards the Shield coming back with what Hawke's Bay did and how the games kind of worked out in the fixtures.
So let's look, zoom forward then. We've got the midweek game is Otago versus Wellington. So Wellington on the Storm Week, which will be relevant later. Otago, kill some of their players, please. Sorry, no, not literally, obviously. Obviously Wellington favourites for that one. Southland then take on Canterbury, which again is Canterbury will be the favourites for there. Bay of Plenty host Taranaki. That'll be a cracker. With Bay of Plenty travelling well this season. Sure, they've had a couple of losses, but Naki have had one as well. So that should be a really good one on Saturday at 2 p.m. North Harbour take on Manawatu. Yeah, you can. That's the time for your afternoon nap. During that one at 4:35. folks. And then Waikato versus Hawke's Bay. This will be interesting to see kind of what kind of hangover Hawke's Bay have after losing the Shield. It can sort of take the wind out of your sails. So that could be an opportunity there for Waikato. Into Sunday, counties take on Otago. Otago will be looking to get their season back on track at that one. Northland, Auckland, two struggling teams this year, to be honest. But you'd always expect Auckland to win that one. Again, big brother from that one. And then the big game of the weekend, Sunday at 2 p.m. I mean, if Tasman cannot sell out their entire ground on a Sunday at 2 p.m. for their first ever Ranfurly Shield defence against Wellington, then I'll be amazed. I would be putting up extra temporary stands because, like they did for the All Blacks game, to expand capacity, because they will sell out. So if you've not got your ticket for that one already, folks, you're probably already too late. That is the biggest game in New Zealand this weekend, even if the All Blacks were playing. This could be a Bledisloe Cup game, and this would be bigger than that, to be honest, I think.
What would be really interesting if the All Blacks, say this was, the Bledisloe game, All Blacks in Australia, I don't even know where they're playing those games. Say it was in I don't know, Hamilton or something. It's irrelevant, right? I'd be curious as to who would get. I know the capacities would be a bit different, but I reckon there'll be a fairly close sort of crowd running there.
Absolutely, I just say Tasman's not a big union. It's not. Nelson and it's not a big city, but I think pretty much everybody and everyone for about 100 miles around will be trying to be there for that one.
You've got a pretty big catchment there. You got Nelson, you got Blenheim, you've got all the little suburbs and cities up around that sort of region as well. You got Picton all going. There's a lot of people. They'll travel. It's not far to go.
The whole population of the South Island is about the same as Hamilton. Okay, so come on, let's just knock it off here.
Yeah, but they're not they're not softies like those bloody pufters up in Auckland and Hamilton. You're like, I'm not going out in the rain. No, they'll be there. You can guarantee they'll be on the tractors. Will be digging out there. There'll be a big tractor run. Will block up it's only a 2-lane highway, so it's not very. Not like it's very exciting than that one. But
you see one tractor to drive down the middle of the road.
Everyone's screwed then. Hey, it'll be a good atmosphere. Like you're right though. What would you prefer to be at? Would you prefer to be going to that first ever Ranfurly Shield defence with Tasman? A monumental occasion, packed stadium, would be noisy. The support will be phenomenal, or anything else.
Let's be blunt. If wind back about 6-7 years, when I actually had an income and had disposable money, rather than where I am now, which is where I work 2 part-time jobs at just over minimum wage, that I would be flying down to this game. Absolutely. If you think that back in the day, I got a. You can read about this on my blog if you want to. Not that I've written anything for the blog for about 4 or 5 years, but this article is still there. Ekatahuna or bust. If you Google that, I got an overnight bus from Auckland down to Wellington, a sleeper bus. Met up with my mate there. We got on the train from there up to Masterton, and then got the bus from Masterton to Ekatahuna to go to a pre-season game between the Hurricanes and the Crusaders in Ekatahuna. They flew by helicopter the cup in. The stands were basically lorries, and you climbed on top of the back of the lorries to actually get a view. And the halftime entertainment was a crop duster spraying the crowd to keep us cool. Aeroplane that came in and sprayed the crowd. It was brilliant. I've never seen so many rat's tails and stuff. I felt so in Redneckville. It was unreal. It was a massive eye opener for me. I'd only been in New Zealand for about a year. We got the bus back from Ekatahuna to Masterton. That we'd missed the last train, so we had to stay there overnight. I then got the train back to Wellington, got the overnight bus back to Auckland. And so I did those kind of stupid trips for pre-season games that didn't matter. This game, hell yes, I would have been there, absolutely. kids college fund. Good luck. That would be gone.
I was about to say you can become a supporter here of New Zealand Sport Radio if you would like. Links are down below if you want to see Paul go on crazy trips like this down to Nelson, or I will drive and meet him there as well. Where's the big funders?
If someone would drop a few hundred for me to pay for my flight, I would love to go to this game. This would be absolutely brilliant. I have the contacts. I could even get a media pass. I could get as media pass as this one. Tasman's a union we got on really well with. This is a cracking game. Tasman are going really well. As the reviewer says, Wellington are unbeaten this year. This would be probably a game of looking at the fixtures. Bay of Plenty Taranaki is also a good matchup. This is probably matchup of the round, even without the Ranfurly Shield. So this game is at Lansdowne Park in Blenheim. So it's not in Nelson, it's in Blenheim. Actually,
it's in Blenheim. Oh wow, yeah. This is okay. Thought it'd be in Trafalgar Park.
Well, they split the games between the two places, right? And it just happens that this
Unlucky.
one is lined up for Blenheim, not for Trafalgar Park. So I say that's a cracker. It's the last game of the weekend, 2 p.m. on Sunday. I mean, well done fixtures. You got lucky, but well done. Oh no, it's not last game. Sorry, no, it's funny. Yeah, sorry. Okay, it's on at the same time. Sorry, 2 p.m. It's on the same time as Counties Otago. No one's watching Counties Otago.
No one's watching that. No one is getting close.
Sorry, then it's followed by Northland versus Auckland. They should reschedule. It's too late now, isn't it? They should flip it around. So it's the only game on because the other one's not getting watched.
You know what they should do? They should put on the big screen of that other game that's on the Clash. They should put on the big screen the Tasman the Tasman Wellington game. It's like, we know you're here, but this is more important.
Counties don't have a big screen.
Oh shit!
Poconos, the only time they have a big screen at Pocono Stadium is when they actually drive one of the portable ones on the back of a truck.
Yep, get it in.
Bruce says, if the crowd's going to be as big as you say, the vendors will make a killing. Absolutely will do. Look, when we say big, we're talking NPC, rural grounds.
What's the stadium capacity? 12K?
Yeah. But it will be the fact that it'll be a setup. So I'll have a quick.
It'll be a bumper crowd, right? And it will be a festival sort of atmosphere, right? You have a big. They'll make a big thing of it. It'll be a day sort of event. You have a nice crowd. You have good build up. The weather will be shining. It'll be a beautiful spring day. What more could you want?
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what Lansdowne Park capacity 15,000.
Oh, 15. That's not bad.
15.
How much is terraces? I reckon if you could, just cram them all in, squish them all in. Oh yeah, Nocturnal says Wellington's very close. We've kind of I disregarded that completely. A little ferry ride right across in about a 1 hour drive, and if that you're in Blenheim anyway.
Oh yeah.
So Wellington support could be massive as well. Yeah, good point.
You are assuming here that the ferries are running, right? And it's not broken down again.
True.
This is New Zealand.
Good point.
The reviewer. Anything else ever happened in Blenheim?
No. I think Blenheim might be worse than Invercargill when it comes to that sort of stuff. I can't name anything that's ever happened there. Even when Tasman hosted the All Blacks, it was in Nelson. When they hosted the Black Ferns against the Red Roses, that was in 20 minutes from Blenheim to Picton. They were the very brilliant. Yeah, but you got to get off the ferry though. That probably takes 40 minutes.
I'd say if it can dock, if it hasn't broken down.
Gone into land. Yeah.
I love this one. Yeah, Bruce says, Nelson sounds like Pearl, Mississippi. It's a small town, but when it's football season, the city grows to the 6th largest city in Mississippi as the people watch the Pearl Pirates play. Yeah, it's going to be one of those kind of situations. But I say, 15,000. Yeah, everybody's going to be there. It'll be a cracking game, cracking atmosphere. Really looking forward to it.
Hopefully.
Unfortunately, I'll be working then doing a gold mine tour, so I won't be able to watch it. So I worked till
I'll send you updates
before. On that one, and then the midweek game then is one that you're probably not going to want to save you probably want to go out. If you're going out Wednesday night, don't cancel your plans. Manawatu versus Southland.
Cracker.
Crack.
See the Stags run riot. That's what you want to see. Be tries aplenty.
So yes, a 7 o'clock game in New Plymouth.
Is it here?
No, it's in New Plymouth. It's going to be it's going to be a cold, that one. Will the Bucketheads turn up for that one? I'm not sure. Hope they do. Look, the Bucketheads are only a stand of about 15 people, but they're the best fans in New Zealand. They're brilliant. I did a trip down to New Plymouth deliberately to go and sit next to them and experience the Bucketheads. They're great. You're blind, you're deaf, you want to be your ref, and all those kind of chants. It's brilliant.
And you too could support these antics by becoming a supporter.
Palmerston North, you're right. New Plymouth do I actually lived. Palmerston North. Anyway, should we get on to some international stuff?
Nah.
Look, everyone who's watching this show will have seen these games, so there isn't necessarily we won't be going through the games in detail, folks. But I will run through some results though from the weekend because the USA actually that was USA South Canada. That was last week. We said that. Tonga lost to Fiji 19-50. Fiji have been having romped through their side of the competition. And Japan beat USA 41-24. So Fiji and Japan go through to the obviously as the tier 1 teams into the semi-finals for that one. So that'll be so Tonga Canada in the 5th 6th playoff for the Pacific Nations Cup. Fiji play the USA and Japan play Samoa in the semi-finals. Expecting obviously for Fiji, Japan, to meet in the final on the 21st for that one. So Springboks versus the All Blacks, coming off the back of a defeat. I said, hey, let's do a quick video responding to the All Blacks team announcement. You went, Paul, I'm already in bed. I was like, your wife won't mind. Should be cool. So clearly that didn't happen. What was your initial reaction to the squad announcement?
I thought he clearly watches the show, Scott Robertson. He's clearly a fan. How you going, Scott? Good to see you. Feel free to use the chat in future if you like. I thought it was an improved, like the lineup. I thought looked promising in the way that they said, like we said, that they needed a bit more experience at the end of the game, and I think they sort of went with that sort of idea like we talked about. So, I feel like we've got a bit of an input here to All Black selection. So let's use that wisely for a fortnight's time, shall we? So
you were happy with that, were you? With the selection?
No, because Damien McKenzie was still at 10. So no, not happy with it. I was intrigued by the changes, right? I think it was a better move in terms of development of the squad, in terms of we actually got to see what guys like Satiti were like. We got to see Will Jordan at fullback. We got to see how poorly out of form a couple of wingers were. I feel like we learned a little bit more than if things stayed the same. But like, as we'll talk about, I don't think it was so much the players or the tactical lineup that was used. I think that was better and was improved. But as we talk about the match more often, I'll say how that changed, how the lineup didn't work how I anticipated it. But in terms of initial lineup for the game, I was more pleased with what it was from Test 1.
So I saw the when I first saw it, I was like, does he know what his best team is?
No.
And that was my first reaction. There seemed to be a bunch of changes, but also a bunch of changes in style. I mean, one of the points I've been making is the reason Sean Stevenson doesn't get picked for the squad is he doesn't fit the ball playing number 15. So what do? You bring in a non-ball playing number 15. So it's like, okay, and we've switched, and then we've lost both. Kind of, hang on, then the winger's gone as well. So my initial thought was he doesn't know his best team, and this isn't a good sign here. When I looked at him in more detail, Caleb Clark injured, Blackadder injured, and actually, okay, I can understand why the changes were there. But that was my initial response was, oh my God, he's kind of flailing. He's being a bit flailing around a little bit with selection. To be fair to him, I would say 2 injuries were involved in that one, and as you say, he was trying to get perhaps some more experience on the bench. Did that work in the end? No, but and Will Jordan at 15 didn't work. He just didn't get in the game at all. Whereas at wing, there's much more freedom just to but the way modern wingers are, we see Cody Taylor stuck on as the last man out wide more frequently than we do Caleb Clark or Reese, Talia, or Jordan in those cities, because the wingers have the right to roam and are told to come and find work. So actually playing Jordan at fullback didn't work in this one because he had to stay back there to catch the ball. And Dr. Wright says Jordan is not a test fullback because he hasn't hardly played this year. Now again, I think it comes down to system and what do you want players to do, and the role of the fullback, actually the role of the 10 as well, on defence is to be at the back there to get the ball. On attack is to be first and second receiver to distribute. That's not what I want Will Jordan to be doing, right? I don't want him distributing, and I don't want him being stuck back there the whole time. So to me, yeah, it's square peg and round hole. To me, is the problem with Jordan at fullback.
I feel like if we're going to skipping forward to the end of the match and use of the bench, I feel like they got that so terribly wrong with the substitutes they made when they made them and the personnel that were switching and moving with them. Look, we may talk about that later, but I think they got that so very wrong. The players who went off shouldn't have gone off. With Will Jordan, I think I agree with you. What you say, style is massive, because it's easy to say, like you say, yeah, okay, you want your fullback to be covering your 10. That's why they always go off of that 10-15 kind of dual role sort of style. But it doesn't mean that it can't work for Jordan, because remember, you've got a guy that they consider to be good enough to play as a number 10 already in 12. And that's the role a 12 can also do as well, is cover that 10 channel. But do you really want Jordie Barrett? Because you talked about distributing. And that's not a part of Jordie Barrett's game, distributing whatsoever. So you've kind of pigeonholed yourself into only really having one distributor in your team as a guy who really looked at his absolute clueless worst in this last game in your number 10 jersey. Whether that was because of the options he had around him, but I just feel like Mackenzie had no clue. He was completely out of depth. I don't think that backup he didn't have of Barrett hurt him. But I don't feel like Jordan is a bad fullback because of that. You think about it, I don't think they conceded a try until he was off the field. So defensively, which would be more of a concern of mine, because he's an attacking player, he's a big attacking threat. He's a guy that is, he's attack. What is Will Jordan? Attack. Defensively, did he get found out? Did he miss any tackles? Was he out of position? High balls were dropped by wingers. Jordan's copping a bit of flack in media already, but from my memory of it, which was at 3 a.m., remember, I don't see any glaringly bad things he did. Like I say, defensively, there was no tries where he was out of position. Sevi Reese made a lot more errors under high balls. I mean, the wingers both were terrible under high balls, and the Springboks got up massively with those short kicks that the All Blacks just couldn't contend or compete with on their own side of the scale. So, he wasn't awful. Sure, he could have been a lot better. I think his attack wasn't as good, but was that a case of the fact that he was probably just trying to do his core roles of a fullback before he worried about trying to be an attacking weapon? So it maybe took out a bit of his game, but I feel like that's something he could develop. Again, that's going to take time. But is that the way they want to go? If it is, you commit. If it's not, just leave him as a winger, right? It's easier to make a fullback a winger than it is to make a winger a fullback. So, yeah, where that's going to go is going to be the interesting thing for me. But I feel like there's a lot worse out there than Mr. Will Jordan. And sadly, he's copping it, though. Yeah,
to me, he just didn't get involved. The position didn't allow him to get involved. That I don't think he had Yeah, let's say done a particularly.
He had a few
bad
runs
game.
in that first half. He had a few
So
cracks, which I thought was pretty good. But yeah.
So having a quick look on the old stats, then Jordan, 6 carries for 29 meters. Reese 6 carries, 24 meters. Talia 5 carries, 13 meters. Yeah, none of them really got that involved with ball in hand.
Wingers were shocking.
But as you say, part of that problem is, and maybe this is part of the thing we've sort of talked about in South Africa a bit previously, is you've got 2 centres who don't really pass the ball. Geordie Barrett, 15 carries for 48 meters. Rico Iwani, 10 carries for 24 meters. Barrett passes 5, Iwani 5. Yeah. If you're outside of, well, yeah, actually a bit more. If you're in front of Geordie Barrett and he throws a dummy pass and you go for it, you need your head seeing too, right? Same with Rico Iwani. Anybody who follows that dummy pass, sorry, but no, they're running it, right? Okay. But to me, if we talk about the game briefly, because I think it's much more fun stuff to talk about outside of the game and the repercussions. I'd say everyone who's watched this show will have seen the game. Great start by the All Blacks, be able to go through phases. Didn't get points on the board at the end of the day, and the only stat that really matters is points. When they couldn't get the points on the board through that, you had to kind of worry about them. The Springboks coming back, weathering that storm really well defensively, got some points on the board. Come the kind of the late in the game, as soon as it got thrown and we had we're in the last sort of 10 or so minutes, and the All Blacks was the pass that hit someone's head and went forward. So it was Scott Barrett to Geordie Barrett, I think it was. As soon as that happened, my immediate thought was game over. They're not going to do it from here. Now, to be fair to them, they did get themselves back into that situation where they could have done, but just too many errors, too many mistakes. There's some points in here. Look, South Africa is developing their attacking game. There's still lots of errors for them as well. Neither side are functioning. And at the beginning of the World Cup cycle, that's fine. But yeah, errors at the end of the day was the one that killed it for me, and that meant that I couldn't see the All Blacks once they've gone behind. Once they have that mental block of we can't score in the last quarter, I couldn't see them doing it.
In the last quarter, in the last match, the whole game. I mean, how often would it be that an All Blacks team would go? Well, they haven't scored in the last 20 minutes of any game in this whole competition. Yep. So you can easily say it's 80 plus minutes now. 100 plus minutes, sorry, that they haven't scored a try. Because they didn't score a try in that whole test match. They didn't score in the last 20 minutes of the last test match. Statman will find out when the last tries were scored, and it's going to be probably the longest time since the All Blacks have scored one try, which says massive things about them.
Maybe this century. They've not always been great, but
to score one try, though, I think that's quite incredible. Look, in the stream, what I found was really interesting. And Mighty was there; he'll know exactly the rage from people in chat about the All Blacks kicking for sticks, taking threes, not attacking with the penalties and the chances, but in general play, kicking too much. There's general very, very, very angry fans out there that are not liking the style of play that the All Blacks are developing and the All Blacks are playing with that aimless kicking. It's too deep. It's not competitive. And that, I think, a major difference in that test match was the way the Springboks kicked was always under competition from chasers. It was always a good range. It was always a good distance. It was always probing and intriguing. Whereas the All Blacks, a lot of their kicks were either just in that area of they're not going to get it, so it's easy to claim, and it's enough time for the defense to run something back. And they're doing it from positions where, sure, if you're in your own 22, just barrel that ball, get it out of there. If you're in your own 10-meter lines, you really need to be looking for something to better your position, not just hack it away. And then, hey, the other team hacks it a bit more effectively, and you're on your 22 now for lined out. Your ball's that up. and you're under real pressure. You know, it takes one little mistake to really ruin the whole system. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of very, very, very unhappy style of play people in All Blacks fans from this whole season, to be fair.
Okay, let's move on then from the game and actually talk about the kind of some of the one more thing about the game. Go on.
We have to if we're gonna stop talking about that game. Can we credit how amazing Tupou Vai'i was? I mean, everyone's going on, oh, Satiti was amazing. Lomax was brilliant until Colby dived off the springboard, you know, which you kind of expect. But I think Tupou Vai'i had a phenomenal game. For a guy that's been around, he's been good. That was a standout performance from him. That's one that I'm really happy to see because we need a lock who's going to step up, and it was great to see him step up and really go to that next sort of level. I think he's turned his corner now, and he could become a really great player.
So a couple of things. One, Lomax should not have been asked to play that long, right? As a prop, why are you playing to 70, 80 minutes? No.
Because Opper's on the bench. And he's trash.
Nocturnal writes, Colby can line out throw as well. Yeah, that was brilliant. I love that. Absolutely. Get Colby. I love the fact that, yes, again, mixing things up, showing people something they're not expecting. Well done. Big things here. So from what you're saying and from what we're seeing in the live chat here. So Rog says Foster's Foster never lost a thing. We'll get on to could he be the last one? But you're talking about tactics basically. Anyway, that's right. Yeah, Mighty. It was just ineffective tactics. As far as tactical innovations go, we're seeing them from the Springboks. We're not seeing them from the All Blacks. This is supposed to be the guy that was bringing all the cool things through that Foster couldn't. Where is it? Just not seeing it. Sorry. The use of the bench isn't working. Clearly, no tries or no scores in the last 20 minutes of every single Rugby Championship game shows he cannot use his bench, or hasn't. Well, okay, maybe slightly harsh, but hey, that's what we're here for. To be slightly fairer, he hasn't been able to use his bench, and he should be able to. This is supposed to be the best coach New Zealand has, right? So there's serious mistakes there. But anyway, should we move? So moving on to some of actually Antelope Brown only gets 10 to 15 minutes, looks lost. Feels like his career is drifting. So it's not so right. Yeah, he looked really good when he started. When he had the whole game to play. I'm sorry, but yeah, Antelope Brown is a really good player, and I think he's getting wasted at the moment in this one. Yeah, look, people saying, yeah, look, Colby can do well at the Olympics and diving and blah blah blah. Look, it's that's part of the game now, folks, and it has been for a number of years. Okay, you're trying to get calls from the ref, and so you make sure the ref can see what's happened at the end of the day. Now, you call it diving, exaggeration. People have a go at the Australian scrum half, Nick White, look, yes, did he fall over from a slap to the face? Yes, but you know what? A slap to the face interrupts your passing, so he's got to make it seen. He did the right thing. So sorry about that on that one. Lots of people saying Rico should play on the wing. Rico doesn't want to play on the wing. Very clearly has said, I'm not a winger anymore. And at the end of the day,
great on the wing. Cool, he was good.
At the end of the day, if a player says, I'm not going to play on the wing,
then he gets dropped. Go on. Out of there.
Well, yep.
See you, TJ. See you, Rico. See you, Damien. She's chop them all off. Hey, the forward pack was brilliant. You're positive. If we want to be positive on the show, the forward pack was really good. I think the 8 men in the forward pack were incredible. Satiti had a phenomenal, big opening chance. He was brilliant. Even Sam Cane played well. I know that's going to really piss you off, but
no, he's had 2 games, but he shouldn't be there because it's not developing anyone for the next Rugby World Cup.
Someone brought up a good point in the stream. He's there because no one has taken that jersey while he wasn't there. since the World Cup final, and this is only he started in 2. He come off the bench against Argentina.
Yep.
Who's really taken that 7 jersey? No one.
Yeah, no, I can see where you're coming from.
Not that I'm a fan of Kane. I just feel, it's like, well, that's a fair point. No one has come in and said, yeah, no, you're not getting this jersey back. It's mine. And now we've got 2, like Titi and Savia. I mean, that could be a really devastating back row combination, right? It's good. I mean, the pack looked really good. And how long has it been since we've gone, the All Blacks have got backline issues? Normally it's the other way around. It's like the backline goes, well, if they can get the ball on the front foot. Now it's like they're getting all the ball they like. They've got a dipsy guy at 10 who's running all around like a fairy, and midfielders who just aren't doing anything with the ball. The final thing I'll say on this game, and it's a question for you, are we going back in time? Is this 2 to 4 years ago we were talking about the All Blacks not having a plan B? Because this feels like there's no plan B, right? Remember we were talking about there's no experience of the team. No one's putting up their hand and saying, let's change things up. Did they change things up in that game? Yes, they're leading for most of it, and you probably understand. But things weren't working and things didn't change that weren't working. And they've been the same things for 4 weeks since Argentina now, relatively. So are we going back to that conversation?
Yeah, and I'm not sure we ever sort of lost that conversation.
True.
To be honest with you, I think that's been a consistent issue for a while now. That when you see things happen, it's because it's because it's at half time when the coaches get hold of them and they change things, and that's wrong.
Yes.
On a side note, where have Razzie's traffic lights gone? Because in the last game, you can see Razzie was upset that they went for goal when they shouldn't have done, or vice versa. And it was like, mate, if you haven't got your traffic lights there to tell the players what to do, this is what happens. So his traffic lights disappeared, and he got pissed off in not this game, I think, but the last game when an option was taken by the players at a penalty. So, mate, traffic lights, bring them back. Clearly, that's what you need.
And where's Eddie Jones' cat? And that was Michael Chicker's cat, wasn't it? The Michael Chicker had the little cat. Does he still have the cat? Yeah, that was really good. Hey, when's the last time you've seen the All Blacks line out dominate the Springboks line out like the last 2 tests? I think that's the biggest shock from the series.
The particularly early on, they sorted it out, right? Yes, they lost a few early on, but then they got it under control.
Leadership. They've got leadership. Exactly. Yeah. Oh,
so that's what it is. So little quiz for you now, because there's a few things that have been talked about there about what will it take basically for Razor to lose his job? Is where it's coming from. But the things like, could this be the last Rugby Championship for Razor? No, because the All Blacks have no money. But out of the 4 Rugby Championship teams, whose record since 2000 is this, with wins, draws, and losses? Sorry, this doesn't work so great for the people watching the podcast, listening to the podcast. But what I have here is a bar chart showing the number of losses, draws, and wins for a team since 2000.
In the Rugby Championship alone?
Well, no. This is all their wins, but it's one of the Rugby Championship teams.
Oh, okay, right. I'm going to say this is South Africa.
That is Argentina.
They had 2 draws in 2020. They had
2 draws in 2020. What you'll also notice, they had an awful lot of wins before about 2016, when they used to play a lot of South American
Rugby
teams.
Championship.
And also before they joined the Rugby Championship. I will come on to and Dr. Rice points out New Zealand Rugby gave Robertson a 4-year deal instead of 2. Exactly. They can't afford to sack him. They've lost enough money already, and they've already had to pay off one guy. This is what South Africa looks like. A lot more green there, particularly in recent years. But look, they do have years when they have bad years, 2016 and stuff. And we'll look at the actual table later on that one. Mighty says that 2018, 2019. Yep, that was a bad period for the Los Pumas. But basically, what happened there is in 2011 they started playing in the Rugby Championship, and you can see suddenly the number of losses they have went up, pretty much doubled from then onwards.
And the amount of games that they played went up.
And again, yeah, pretty much doubled the amount of games they played. Then come 2017, 18, around about there. I can't remember. I've got it exactly on the table. They stopped playing. They stopped having 2 or 3 games against Paraguay, Brazil, Uruguay, Chile at the beginning of the year, and hey, presto, the number of wins drops as well. And then they've kind of improved over the last 4 years to get sort of get that balance back up again now. This we'll come back to the Wallabies one because yes, there's been some fallout of the Wallabies' worst ever loss from the weekend, to say the very least. But this here is the graph for the All Blacks, which has an awful lot of green in it, a few blues, and then not much red. Since the year 2000, for those on the podcast, the All Blacks have only ever lost 4 tests twice. Already this year, the All Blacks have lost 3 tests. And they've still got to travel to Dublin to play Ireland and to presumably Paris to play France. They might be playing in Marseille or somewhere, which are 2 very losable games, as well as Twickenham versus England, which I personally don't think is a losable game, but I know a lot of people do. So,
Allianz.
Allianz, whatever. It is an amazing record, a terrific record, as Oksana Wright says. But yes, for all the flack that Ian Foster got over the last 4 years, and yes, he did lose more games than his predecessor, but still, he was only losing 2 or 3 games a year. Right, in 1 year he lost 4. The reviewer says Bledisloe Cup in Wellington is a banana skin. Oh, with Wellington, with All Blacks record in Wellington, yes, absolutely it is. Will Razor get past this year? Well, one of the things that will be against his detractors, or at least the New Zealand Rugby will have to deal with, is the fact that there is a very good chance that Razor will have the worst ever season with the All Blacks since the year 2000. And that is not something I think a lot of people were thinking of or expecting when he replaced Ian Foster. Let's be honest. I'll just the modern All Black problem is getting up for the big games, but dropping to Argentina. I disagree. Sorry, I'm not a big fan of that opinion. To be honest, I think they can go up for the game. I think they are up for those games. Just think that they're not as good as they used to be at closing those out. Is there a wider issue that can't be solved? That couldn't be solved by Foster and Robertson? Absolutely, there is. Yes, there are a number of issues, and we've talked about some of those, the off the field issues, in the fact that we don't have a union that really is organised well, administrative wise. Getting rid of South Africa has come up as being a big issue, has been being mentioned in a lot of papers recently, as that why are players not ready for Test rugby? Well, because we ditched South Africa, and South Africa aren't part of Super Rugby anymore. That kind of tends to put rose-tinted glasses on about the fact that Super Rugby with South Africa in was a dying beast anyway, and no one watched those games. But yeah, so here is the All Blacks record since the year 2000. I've got the number of losses there, draws, wins. Normally you have win percentage. I thought I'd be really negative and go for loss percentage. Instead, and then also I've put in when the Lions years, World Cup years are, and also who the head coach was as well. Dr. Wright says, yeah, look, it's funny how often they lose, then a big win at Eden Park follows. Yeah, Eden Park seems to have something. I do not like Eden Park as a stadium. I think it's a badly designed stadium. You're too far away from the pitch. It tries to be a cricket pitch and a rugby pitch, and you can't be both. you're neither. But for some reason, the All Blacks love it. I don't know why, but it works for them. But Steve, look, on here, I've said that any year where the All Blacks lose less than 10% of their games is a good year. The best year being 2013. And I've said any year they lose more than 30% of their games is a bad year. Their worst year, so the worst year currently is this year, with their current loss percentage of 43%. So this is currently their worst year since 2000, or this century. Are there any numbers off there that kind of jump out at you?
This is the first time I've seen this. I'm studying it hard now. I'm studying it hard. Let me see. What surprises me. We're on a downward trend of bad stuff, aren't we? The glory days of those 2000s and 2010s are long behind us.
Yeah, for those
what happened in 2009?
For those of you on the podcast, 2010 through till 2016, basically every year was a wonderful year, apart from the World Cup year in 2011, where they had all of 2 losses. I mean, that wasn't really a bad year. Let's be blunt.
That was a great year. 2009 surprises me. There was that many losses in that sort of tenure. That was Graham Henry when he had his second chance, wasn't it? That was his midterm of his second chance at life after the disappointment of 2007, when he come back and redeemed himself in 2011. So, look, the thing is, you're right. They don't often have a bad year, do they? And even a rebuilding year, because I'm looking post-World Cups, 2012. Okay, that doesn't count. Let's go back even further. 2008, post a bad World Cup, 19% losses. 2020, post a bad World Cup, 33%. But you know what the really interesting one is how bad the loss of All Blacks was in 2011, yet we banged out in 2012 with only 1 loss. And that was supposed to be the ultimate demise of the All Blacks, losing all that experience, all those names, and yet look at that, 1 loss. Now look at us.
Yeah, exactly. So there's been one of the excuses for Scott Robertson has been, there's been a loss of experience. You've lost Mwanga, you've lost you've lost Whitelock, these players, and then I'm like, hang on a second. After 2015, you lost or was it 2011? Sorry, you lost McCaw.
2015.
Yeah, after 2015. Yeah,
2015. Yeah,
you lost McCaw, Carter,
Mealamu.
Yeah, no, I was running through basically the kind of spine of the team. McCaw,
5
Carter,
Centurions.
At 12, you had I've gone blank. Nonu,
Conrad Smith, Nonu.
And Conrad Smith outside him. So you lost basically your entire 3/4. You lost your you lost Mealamu as well in there. So there was and yet there was no drop off at all. So the injury to Roy Gard has hurt a lot. Yep, absolutely. It's a real shame that he has there. But if you've got a team that is so dependent on one player, 2011, we lost Dan Carter. We lost like another 3 or 4 fly halves and still won the Rugby World Cup. You can't be 2016 replacements for quality to feed in well to the team. For me, I'm using the excuse that it's not Razor's fault, it's players leaving fault, and yet last year was Ian Foster's fault. That's what I'm finding hard to swallow.
It's easy to look at that now and go, the quality of replacements were good and that they blended well to the team. But I tell you what, at that time in 2016, before that first All Blacks test, it's after that Rugby World Cup and building into a new season, oh boy, the negativity was astronomical, absolutely incredible because of the loss of all those players. The expectation of that team and the All Blacks over the next 2 years was doom and gloom, record losses, everything bad you could possibly think about with all those players that left. I don't feel like they really lost that much after the last World Cup. Yes, some experienced players, But like you said, like that was a core, that was an absolute spine of the best world-class quality. It wasn't just world-class. These are elite world-class, best in their positions, best of all time sort of players, especially that midfield.
Two or three of those are in your All Blacks all-time, your All Blacks all-time 15, right?
And now what have we lost? Okay, maybe two of the best locks in Whitelock and Retallick, sort of jobby, but I mean, not much else has really changed from the last season and the couple before that. I do feel like the number 10 is a massive issue. And I feel like it's such a pivotal role. If you don't have a good one, it can affect a lot of the team and the way that the team operates. I do feel like that is a big issue with this team. But I don't feel like it's a squad of players. I feel like it's just the way that they're playing and blending into all this new change and things just aren't clicking the way that they would like.
Aaron Smith was a great player.
Aaron Smith?
Yeah, right.
Fair.
Now I need to take a toilet break, so I'm going to ask Steve to take you through his view of the Wallabies Pumas game, and then I'll come back to talk about the fallout of it.
Well, the Wallabies and the Pumas. Right, go for knock yourself out, Paul. Right, Wallabies and the Pumas. This game, what a game. A tremendous result. I believe this is a tremendous result for Argentina. The way that this game went from seeming like the Wallabies were just cruising their way to victory, up, was it 20 points to 7, I think it was, after half an hour, doing the job nicely, scoring some great tries too. It was good to see the difference, I feel like, that they had with with Donaldson in the number 10 jumper. We actually saw Callaway making some work into defenses, making line breaks. Really was positive. I thought they really, really played quite well in that opening passage. But when you concede 7 unanswered tries off my memory in that last 50 minutes or so of the game. And what really made me laugh, if you tuned into the match, you would have heard, I'm pretty sure it was Michael Hooper and the commentary team around the 70-minute mark say, it's just amazing how the Pumas have turned up in these last 50 minutes. You don't just turn up for 50 minutes like that. You can say that over a 5 and 10 minute period when the team changes direction. But boy, over 50 minutes, man, those Pumas are absolutely something else. If I'm going to pick an area where I think the Wallabies lost control, and one try absolutely sealed the thought of this as well. And it was, I think, the first try for Oviedo that he scored off the bench as well. An incredible performance by him. But when you saw him break that line and 3 Wallaby defenders facing the opposite direction to where he was half-ass tackled, but not really finishing the job, those guys were running the opposite direction, setting up for the next phase of play, not even knowing what was happening behind them, was just summed up how poorly defensively structured they were, especially that second half. Their line speed was non-existent. They weren't getting up and making their hits. They were getting the attack was coming to them rather than them racing up and hitting the attack. I just thought they were completely outplayed by the attack, and they looked like they had no idea what they wanted to do to try and stop it. They looked out of ideas defensively and just completely bamboozled. But to me, boy, when Argentina go, like Nocturnal says, boy, when they click, oh, man, they are so good to watch, man. I just, that midfield, Cinti, Malia up for fullback in those latter parts of that game. Oh, so good. Matera, 100th match, if I'm not mistaken, as well, and to bulldoze over for that try. What a legend he is. And then, of course, the 2 Carreras boys. Boy, if you're going to ever love a rugby player to watch, those 2 Carreras boys, when they sing a song, man, oh, they are just something utterly outside the box. Those guys are phenomenal. But it's led from their pack, I feel like the way that Argentina's playing now and how exciting they are and they've learned to use their backs and stuff. We probably discredit, I think, their pack a little bit. They've got such a quality pack. And they led so well that allowed those backs to just play and dance. And we're seeing guys, 3-4 years ago, remember when Chukwueze signed to play for the Blues? And we're like, oh, who's this guy with this really weird name that we can hardly say? And he was all right then, but what a player he's developed into over those 4 years. And there's so many names now absolute star-studded players. It's great to see. But yeah, Wallabies defense was, I think wobbly was a nice way to put it. They were completely shell-shocked, and they had no idea. And look, it was sunny. Oh, it was sunny. There's no rain to save this time, Wallabies. It was good. But yeah, positive Wallabies. I think I like Lolosio, but I think Donaldson really is, dare I say it, looks much more comfortable and makes that team look a bit more comfortable on attack as well when he wears that number 10 jersey. But yeah, Pumas, I love them. I want to see more of them. Bring on. I hope they really push the box in their couple of matches as well. I think if they get going and they're allowed to play and their forwards can match up, I think they could be fun to watch. I hope they are.
Absolutely, yeah, I hope they are as well. Look, I mean, Australia were in this one at half time.
But yeah, right? They led at half time, yeah.
And then at half time, 17-20, they got through some phases and stuff. Again, perhaps didn't get the reward, didn't get points on the board when they were up, like they should have done. Perhaps put more on the board there. The Donaldson runs onto the ball more. Lucia is planted. He's also a bigger boy as well, isn't he? So it's
way
as well. So from that point of view as well. But really, their problems came in that second half. Their first score came after 70 minutes, and by then the game had gone. I know a lot of people are saying that they're in it until the hour mark, but they didn't score in that second half at all, really. So again, my one criticism or one issue here for Argentina is when they switched on and took over after the coach had a chat with them, right? And again, it's not just Argentina; it's a lot of teams. Leadership, yeah. Again, and they've got they've got a cracking set of leaders. But do they have they worked through with the head coach as to what is Plan B and how do we implement it, or when should we, how should we? Those sort of things seem to be missing there. And if they can do that, they will take a massive leap forward because only the very, very top teams can do it. All the other teams are waiting till half time and can only change once during a game. If you can do it on the pitch, you can change more than once, and you don't have to wait till half time when the opposition will also change. So from that point of view, that sounded like my fire bursting out. Hang on, I'm back in a second.
Wait, you can go because I got a point I wanted to make before before your house goes on fire live here on New Zealand Sport Radio. No, I wanted to make a thing about Augustine Creevy, who announced his retirement after the series after that first test against the Wallabies. So no more Creevy, retired. I've got to say, what a legend of the game, legend of Argentinian rugby, fantastic player, great leader, fantastic personality, inspirational man. It goes down to one of the greats for me, especially from Argentinian rugby. He's up there with the Contempomies and the likes when it comes to Argentina.
Totes, my only comment would be, why is he playing after every World Cup? You should have, a bit like Sam Cane, shouldn't be. Now, it's
probably thought he could go a little bit longer, and then did that season. Was like, nah, can't be asked.
So cracking win by the Pumas. Let's talk about the Pumas first, actually, from this point of view on their record. Look there. So I put up on screen for those of you, on the podcast, you got to see us, but basically losses, draws, and wins. Basically, the same spreadsheet I showed for the All Blacks is being shown for the Pumas here. One of the things that actually is amazing about the Pumas is quite how stable their coaching setup has been. Right, we know that the All Blacks has been, and they only ever change after every World Cup. There aren't those really forced changes, or they haven't been recently. But actually, if you look at it from an Argentina point of view, they've had a very, very, very stable set of head coaches. Sure, there was that little issue with Mario Ledesma having to step in for a Rugby World Cup, and then Checo's having to do something similar. But yeah, it over the whole, it has been pretty stable. Some of their records prior to them joining the Rugby Championship are amazing. You got to remember though, like only 2 losses in 2001, 2 losses in 2006. If you look in 2001, who do they play? They played Uruguay, USA, Canada, New Zealand, which they lost, Italy, Wales, Scotland. To be fair, they all beat. And they lost to New Zealand again. Played New Zealand twice in 1 year. My God. Wow. But they would open up their year basically like that. Uruguay, Paraguay, Chile was the opening in 2002, 2003, Paraguay, Chile, Uruguay. So they always had that really good start to the season, which gave them I guess, gave them continuity, got them going, which was really good then. But yeah, their breakout year clearly was that 2007 World Cup, where they came third from memory in France, when you're beating because South Africa beat England in the final, and they beat, I can't remember who it was, so they beat in the third, fourth playoff.
France?
Yes, France. That was right. Thank you. And then they didn't get to join the Rugby Championship until 2012. That's the travesty. It took 5 years to actually get shit moving and get them involved. That just shows you how glacial the rugby administration works. But they still kept doing those early games against Paraguay, Chile, Uruguay, etc., Brazil, up until 2016. And so that's why you see the drop off suddenly after 2016. Their worst 3 years, or three of the bad years, are 2017, 2018, 2019. That's their worst. That's when basically they've joined the Rugby Championship, but they don't have their easy wins against the tier 2 opposition in there. And that's also why when Mario Ledesma lost his, came in, to replace Daniel Okada, but on that one. But look, their best year, some very good years. 2020 was a cracking year for them. That was obviously a COVID year. 2 draws against Australia, a win and a loss against New Zealand that year. And then this year is going fantastically well. 4 wins this year and 3 losses. So cracking start to the year for Filippo Contamponi. My criteria for what is a good year and a bad year for each of the teams changes. I think saying that the Pumas only have a good year when they make less than 10% of their losses, I think would be a bit harsh. So I think if they so I think that 43. Actually, I probably should have highlighted a couple more. Actually, think about that. But I say those early ones in like 2005, where they had 30% losses, when you're only playing 2 tier 1 nations a year, I thought those aren't comparable to their stats recently. You got to take into account who they have beaten and who they're playing.
It just goes to show what playing top quality opponents can do. You know, could have we seen Japan make this sort of progress? Could have we seen other nations make this sort of progress over the last nearly 10 years? You know, I feel like we could have. And why wasn't this done sooner? Why couldn't these teams been playing sooner? Why are we so slow, like you say, to react from, you know, having someone having a good season to putting them in a competition where they should be developing into? Just takes too long. It's too long, and it's almost painful to see, and it's painful to watch. But look,
as soon as
what I love about Argentina
happened with Italy, right, where they beat all the six nations team, or the 5 nations teams at the time except England in one-off games, and by the time they were put into the 6 nations, all those players had retired, and they had a much worse team. That's the problem you have with this sort of situation, is where, yes, that team in 2007, those players didn't get to play in the Rugby Championship. They'd all some of them did, but quite a few of them would have retired, right? Why
Creevy
did they
be playing back then?
Creevy was playing at the time of Christ, look, I mean, so that's why you have to move quicker, because take advantage of while you've got a good team, to get them in there, get the results, to get that public backing and get the interest up.
And what this doesn't really show as well is the way that the team has developed their style of play. Remember Argentina around that World Cup of like 07? What were they? They were a team that would just smoke you in the front row and in the pack and in the set piece, right? They'll just destroy you there. They would rock you forwards. They'll dominate you there. I heard guys like him just completely control the game. And the back line was just there to make tackles and hopefully they can pop a few threes over and get the result done. But now look at what
but also in 2007, they had a fantastic kick game and kick chase. That's what the backs were for. It was a kick game and kick. They pinned you back and said, well, we're not playing with the ball. You're playing in your half and you're going to make mistakes and give us penalties. That was there. And in 2007 was not a great Rugby World Cup for play, right? The laws at the time did not make an exciting Rugby World Cup from that point of view. England were appalling going to that Rugby World Cup and somehow made the final. Sorry, but and obviously South Africa cheated because I'm English. But yeah.
It's the same story every year, isn't it? 2023. England were appalling heading into the Rugby World Cup, and yet here they were. They made the semi-finals. They lost to Fiji in the build-up.
1 point away for BC. But anyway, so the Wallabies came off what was their worst ever defeat. Now,
Martin Hernandez, what a man!
He was great. There was a lot. There's been a whole bunch of stuff in the press about how embarrassing and blah 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 this is, worst ever, yada yada yada. Yes, it was a bad defeat, but it was a defeat in the second half. In the first half, they were definitely competitive and stuff. And I think putting too much onus on one game, I think is unfair on Joe Schmidt for this one. And if you actually have a look at how they're going, so the spreadsheet again is up here. Now, a lot less stability here in the coaching, as you'll see, compared to Argentina and the All Blacks. Quite a lot of turnover with people not being around for very long. Ewan McKenzie, for example, and also Eddie Jones in his second tenure. Now, I guess one of the things to point out here for the Australia one, look in the All Blacks one, if there's a name next to it, they actually managed all the games that year, whereas the Australians tend to change their coaches mid-year. So these aren't exact numbers for each coach. So please don't use it like that. Someone here says that Joe needs a couple of years to get Australia sorted. Absolutely. Look, their best year since 2000 was 2015. With Michael Cheika, just 2 losses there in their 12 games, 17% loss rate. So that was their best. Their worst year last year under Eddie Jones, 7 losses and only 2 wins. But to be fair to him, Dave Rennie lost. They've actually lost 9 games 3 times. In 2016, 2018, and 2022. Yes, the 2000 through to 2012. Saw a lot more good years than bad years. Since 2016 through till now, it's much more up and down in that one. But look, Joe Schmidt currently 4 wins, 2 losses. That's not a bad start, really, is it? Overall.
I mean, it's a great start for him, really, when you look at those numbers and put aside the results and the score lines. But look, what he's been given, what he's done, I can see, like we talked about with the All Blacks, experimenting and finding. Clearly, he doesn't know what his best team is, and as he shouldn't, right? Because of what he's coming into, he's got to learn a lot about these players. And I feel like after these 6 games, he has learned a lot about his team, right? He knows a lot more than obviously the start of the season, but I feel like he's developing the squad a lot better. And you take the good portions of it, and I think we can see that the team is actually improving. What I like about this graph here is we give South Africa a bit of crap for being a World Cup team. The Wallabies are a bit down that same boat, aren't they? Look at their best kind of years consistently. They do a lot better in World Cup years than they do outside of World Cup years. 30% there in 2011, 25% in 07, 03 was 36. They never really have bad years in a World Cup year until 2023. But other than that, they seem to always pick up pretty well. But it's been a tough run. And you're speaking about how the Wallabies have had these bad little period from 2016 on. You look at the fact of players that they have at their disposal, and you compare how many iconic or legendary Wallabies players you could name from those early 2000s to that mid 2010s, and from there to now, you would be struggling to even get probably a quarter of that sort of iconic sort of level of player or superstar status player that pulled on the green and gold that you would from now. So, that the caliber is just not there for the Wallabies at the moment, whether it's the development, whether it's just the player base or not. It's it's got to be a concern for them heading forward to get that sort of level of player back in that lineup.
Yeah, sorry, corrections corner. There have been 3 losses and 4 wins this season. The list I was running off hadn't updated the game from this weekend, and I didn't spot that. So thank you, Nocturnal Rights, for that one.
Oh, they played Georgia too, didn't they? I forgot about Georgia.
They beat Wales, Georgia, and Argentina,
Yes.
and they lost to South Africa twice in Argentina. Yep. So actually, it's 43% loss rate rather than 33. But even so, still,
Pretty good.
Look, I mean, where they've come from, he's had twice as many wins already this year than last year. To put that into perspective, right? And their wins last year came over Portugal and Georgia, right? So no sort of T1, no tier 1 games at all. And they've already got a tier 1 win, or 3 tier 1 wins, 2 against Wales and 1 against Argentina. So from that, look, I think they're being overly harsh. Yes, it was a bad loss. They fell off a cliff, and he needs to sort that out quickly. Luckily, he's coming up against a team that can't score in the last quarter, so perhaps that'll nullify each other out. But otherwise, yeah, it's I don't think I think he needs time on that one. Without Topo and Bell, they lose most of their power. No, look, they're both cracking players. Let's be honest on those two. We should have a look in on the old Springboks as well, and another team that hasn't had the most stable of coaching setups. We can see a lot of they change a lot more frequently. Alistair Coetzee oversaw their worst year in 2016, straight after the 2015 Rugby World Cup. 8 losses and 4 wins, a 67 loss percent. That is not Springbok level. Let's be blunt. So I've decided that anything over 50% or 50% or higher of losses is bad as far as the Springboks concerned, and that under 30% is good, which means that 2019, 1 loss, 1 draw, and 10 wins was their best year. That 1 loss coming against the All Blacks in the group stage of the Rugby World Cup, you might remember. Otherwise, undefeated that year on that one. Politics has been impact on South Africa. Struck it lucky with Rassie. Yeah, whether it's luck or whether it's skill in actually picking a good guy. Either way, look, I mean, he wasn't initially supposed to be head coach, was he? He was supposed to be director of rugby, and Alistair Coetzee was supposed to go through the Rugby World Cup, but basically sacked him and took over himself. Was Jacques Neymar really head coach, or was it Rassie? That's I think anyone who's not South African say that Rassie was always in charge. Anyone that was South African will defend Neymar. But there you go. But it's you look at Rassie's record. When he came in 2018, they had a 7-7, a 50% win-loss record. Ever since then, they've been on the up. So as much as I don't like Rassie and his methods at times, you've got to say he is very good at what his job is, which is winning rugby games at the end of the day.
Great record. That typical South African record, right? I mean, would you expect anything less from one of the best teams in the world? They really do step it up for that World Cup time. And look, the thing is with the team too is you see the depth that the nation has of players, and still managing to maintain such a quality of generally overall of record is pretty impressive, right? When they can bring young guys through like they have been, like they do, and like they always have, and still keep this up is pretty good. But yeah, Rusty's a special coach. You can't argue with him. His methods may push the boundaries, and if you're not pushing the boundaries, are you really pushing yourself to be a better coach or a better player or anything like that? No. So yeah, good on him. Jeez, yeah, great years, right? And that one loss in 2019, first team to ever win a World Cup, losing a game in the group stage. So they are record breakers. They're boundary setters, and they are. Hey, they are a benchmark of rugby.
And they've had 4 wins on the bounce against the All Blacks for the first time ever. Or the first time since, for not ever, is it? It's actually first time in God knows how long. Anyway, on that. Looks right. So yeah, highlights the stupidity of apartheid. So much talent ignored for racist thinking. Yep. Not just in rugby. On that one. And he says that the problem will remain that the political power will happen in South Africa. Well, look, I don't know. Look, as much as we there are administrative issues in South African rugby. Let's be blunt here, okay? The Kings and the Elephants, and in which part of the Kings, who became a Super Rugby franchise, and then they became the Elephants when they became when the Kings went bust, and they had 2 different rival chairmen for the same union at the same time. It was a mess. Look, there are places where it is an absolute mess. But if Eastern Cape, thank you very much, Simon Hughes, in the live chat there. But when you actually look at, if you want to look at a national administration setup that has actually that has sort of sorted things out and managed things through COVID pretty well, you've got to say that South Africa did it well. Yes, they suddenly found themselves without a competition for their teams when New Zealand Rugby said, we can take over Super Rugby, and they managed to find a home for their teams. They've had plans for that. They're working well with Georgia as well around some things. So from that point of view, look, I think yes, administrative wise, they will take flack, and yes, there's been the whole quotas and issues around that sort of piece that have happened. But as far as actually keeping the sort of the lights on and stuff working, actually, I think the administration have done a pretty good job from that point of view. And I say most of the detrimental stuff is around that quotas thing, but it looks like we're out the other side of that because they don't need it anymore, right? They've got plenty of really good black players. You know what? If you don't let black players play for ages, and then suddenly go, yes, you can play now, and there's no development pathways, they're not going to be players there, are there? So now they've got development pathways in place. Those sort of issues are behind them, hopefully. On that one,
and you've got to remember, South Africa's got very good. You speak about development, but and down behind of what they've got with when Super Rugby was around, when Super Rugby got ditched, right? The Curry Cup and of course all the pathways through schoolboys rugby and stuff is very, very strong in South Africa. I still think the Curry Cup is one of the best domestic competitions globally, if not the best. It's still right up there with the best. So yeah, they're always well set, regardless of New Zealand Rugby and whoever else trying to kick them in the balls. So and that's to their benefit, right? Because they have the strength in themselves. They don't have to rely on everyone else like we're seeing with Australia, right? And I feel like we'll see with New Zealand Rugby as well, trying to pity back. And that already with the South Africa tour thing, they're trying to scratch and claw and get their ways to things. I think South Africa is probably one of the best set in their own backyard. You got to look after that number one priority. And I think New Zealand Rugby certainly doesn't do that, where I think South Africa does.
Yeah, good point. They're perhaps the most self-sufficient, along with France. Yes. Actually, the two sort of self-sufficient unions from that point of view. Cool. Now we've run to nearly 2 hours, which is just nuts. So I will keep these spreadsheets updated and wheel them out as and when it's there. Not trying to see the lights on. They have blackouts there. They do. They have rolling blackouts in South Africa. That's very true. Amazing how all the team does. Considering, yes, the state of the country. But this is not a political show, so we'll stay away from the state of South Africa from that point of view. For one really good reason, we're not there. We don't really know what's going on. We would be uneducated people commenting about it, to be fair. So, Steve, thank you very much for joining me. Have a cracking weekend. See if you can get up to Blenheim for the Ranfurly Shield game. That's not going to happen. He'll be working like I am, probably. Are you working on Saturday?
Saturday, yeah.
Yep. So we're both working that day. But there we go. So I know it's Sunday, isn't it? The game. Jeez, what am I talking about? Are you working Sunday?
No.
Well done. So
links in the description. Support us out. Buy petrol vouchers. We'll get there.
Yeah. If you want to chuck us $1,000 through New Zealand Sport Radio, then I'm sure we can both get there. No worries. With the price of petrol nowadays, actually it's come down a little bit, but even so, that's. But anyway, thank you everybody. Have a great week. Stay safe, and we'll catch you on Monday. No Rugby Championship games to talk about, but we will have obviously that Ranfurly Shield one, which I think is going to be a cracker, and looking to the Bledisloe Cup games. It's still part of the Rugby Championship, and also the Argentina Springbok games. So stay safe and catch you all next week.